Hey, Nubatama family. Thomas Brown here, Nubatama Third Eye, Facebook, Zero to Pass, YouTube. Coming at you with a kind of a discussion and I guess you could call it posted Japanese Nubatama meta evolution, if you will. As we've been discussing on our Facebook page, some of these designs that we're seeing on Freedom Duo's page that are being posted, it's pretty interesting, and I just want to kind of go over some trends that we've been seeing over April and then kind of going into May, although I think it may just be April posts. Sorry, it's really early where I'm at, but just wanted to get this to you. It's early Saturday in the US somewhere. So one of the first things I wanted to point out is that we're seeing a build either by one person or by a group of people where we've kind of evolved our standard deck, and I should back up, this is for standard, not premium. Where we're seeing this is a G2 lineup. I've been testing this the last few weeks with different variations of grade 3s mostly. My grade 1s have pretty much been the same for the most part. However, I've been finding it to work fairly well, and I'd say there's a few cards that kind of help make that possible. You know, you're able to search these out if you need to. But honestly, I really haven't had to do that much. And I rarely ever brick. So I recommend giving this a try. It really opens up slots for your grade 1s. It opens up slots for grade 3s, which we're going to get to here in a bit. But yeah, this is kind of one of the trends we've been seeing. So, and one that I've really liked, that I've tested and I really like it. The other thing is, earlier on in April, we were seeing builds that were running, 4 of this. In particular, there was one build that was running 4 of that, and they were running, I believe they were running 15 grade 3s. They were running the whole gambit. They had the whole G3 thing going on. And the really cool thing about this is you're able to early to mid game use this to really tempo pressure your opponent in having them lose those 5 cards from their play, whether it's just on the board or from hand or a mix. This really helps that. And then you're able to use, if you get Kuchikira Congo early, to pressure a bit more. Be able to use this to help with interception against, along with guarding restrictions that he places on your opponent, and then come in later mid to late game with Storm and just start swinging more. So that's something that was happening earlier on in the month, and then we've started seeing a trend moving away from that to running just these guys. So more recently, there's been a number of posts, tops, with pretty much this lineup. And I've been trying that. I just yesterday, I started trying this without KFC, without this guy. And perhaps I just don't have the lines of attacks down. I was playing against Excel, I was playing against Narukami, I was playing against actually a very good player as well. So I had all those things going up against me, which is, whenever you play test, that's what you want, right? You want a good deck, you want a good opponent, and that's what I had. And it was pretty difficult. I mean, games were pretty close. Again, wasn't running this because we wanted to test this out. Again, only running always the 8 grade 2s. It worked pretty well. These numbers here, my understanding is the idea is you have the option to get into him early because you have 3 of him, but you're really going to want to keep rewriting Storm later game. And so, one could argue, well, maybe you want to flip, 4 and 3 because you want to ride this early. You can try that. It's something I may try. When I went to Chicago, not too long ago, I was running 4 of this, and 2 of this as a finisher. So I wasn't really planning on rewriting this that much. I was just hoping to finish out games. And every game I had where this went off, which was every game except one, was either really, really close or I cleaned them out. So this seemed to matter a lot for me. But again, the trend that I'm talking about has kind of moved away from Kokushigaratsu. And that brings us to our grade 1s. That's something I want to talk about here. We'll keep all these out here just so you got something to look at other than just a play mat. So by moving away from Kokushigaratsu, the builds that I'm referring to on Freedom Duo, and I do recommend Freedom Duo, it's amazing if you want to just kind of follow the trends, and it's going to be a month or 2 ahead of the English because the Japanese format, they have their stuff earlier than us, so kind of gives you not necessarily a one-up, but you can kind of study what the trends are and what you may want to try. I guess you could call it kind of a one-up, but not exactly. Meta differs even when everything's out a little bit. But getting back to the discussion, by removing Kokushigaratsu, you're opening up that world again for breath. I've said it before, these 2 cards really compete with each other because of their Soul Blast requirements. This is a Soul Blast 1. The thing about him, though, is typically you're going to tend to try to be using him, at least maybe 2, maybe 3 times. So at that point, you're using about 2 to 3 counterblasts. This guy, 1 hit, 3 counterblast, or not counterblast, sorry. Gosh, it's so early. Soul Blast. We're talking about Soul Blast. So, you're going to use 1 Soul Blast, 2 Soul Blasts, maybe 3 Soul Blasts, maybe 4 Soul Blasts. This guy, 1 hit, 3 Soul Blasts, all gone. So, Tsunamasa is very important in this regard. Early on when I was playing and building Standard, I only had like maybe 2 of him in the deck. I was running Oboro Zakura as my other Soul Charger. That has since come out of the deck just because of Counterblast requirements. Counterblast, Counterblast, Counterblast. Oboro card Counterblast. So he made his way out of the deck. Although I've been recently thinking about him again just because these 2 cards fight so hard with each other. And so the decks we're seeing now, the deck build we're seeing now has taken him out, which has made space for him in terms of resources. So just going to put them there. Okay. And this is really important because I'm at the point now where in my deck design, I'm going to be going back to trying to run, it's not what I call a Kujikira Kongo Storm hybrid, but more of a Kokushigaratsu Breath hybrid. Because the management in playing the deck really comes down to Soul, and it's the fight between these 2 guys. So, at some point, you're going to want to use this to tempo out your opponent's hand and field so that you slow them down. Again, it's that 5 cards. It's like taking a turn or turn and a half or maybe 2 turns away from your opponent. If you think about it, you draw a card, you do 2 drive checks, that's 3 cards. If they get a draw, it's really like taking about a turn, maybe a turn and a half away from them is what this does, which is why this card is so strong for Nubatama. And if you can do that, you do it at the right time, and your resource management is going well, you can then start firing this guy off with Storm plays the next 1, maybe 2 turns to finish your opponent off. And that's really what a hybrid that includes Kokushigaratsu and Breath would want to do. If you're lucky early game, you're getting Tsunamasa, you're getting Soul in, and you think you can you may be able to pull off one breath before actually dropping Kokushigarasu, which is going to make it feel like that first turn tomahawk, or that, I should say, that G2 after image tomahawkany ride that we used to do way back when, where on your second ride, you play tomahawkany, fill the board with whatever after image you can, kind of do a little early rush, and then pop all that back to your hand. And if you're able to do that with him, because of your resource management getting Tsunomasa, I say go for it. And that's really, this card feels like after image. It really does when I play it. And I like that. And yesterday when I was playing this without Kokushigarasu and just going ham with him, running 4 of him, like the decks that we see in Freedom Duos lists, it was great. I mean, using this to pop cards back, using this popping cards back, maybe even popping cards with him. It was awesome. Popping cards, popping cards. So, card has been in both builds. Card's been in the Kokushigarasu list that we saw. It really helps fuel this. It can help pressure to give one of your grade 3s that double up. But card ended up remaining with the breath build. There is one build up where cart's out, but cart found its way back in. There was a build where cart was out. There was 4 breath, 4 Dreadmaster, and I believe there was 4 Sakura Fubuki. And that particular build, if I'm not mistaken, had 2 Dam Breach. So the player was still running 10 grade 2s, hadn't quite pushed themselves. Again, assuming it's the same player, or it's a few players that are kind of watching each other, hadn't quite gotten to the point of feeling comfortable with this, still had the 2 Dam Breach in, which I also had 2 Dam Breach in at Chicago because, I wasn't really thinking this was going to be safe. Even though being a Glendios player who used to only run 6. But there you were able to search with Worldline and you had other ways of getting stuff out. So, but again, I've been testing this. I'm not just reporting something that I saw online. I've been testing this, and this actually has been working for me. And again, I was earlier testing it with the Kokushigarasu as a focus, and then just recently, just yesterday, I started testing it with just breath with this out. So with that said, what I'm thinking of doing, and I think I'm going to test this tonight. We'll see how it goes. If I find the game's brick real bad in terms of bricking my resources, I'll go back to probably either this or this just to test it more. But I want to try the hybrid, the breath Kokushigarasu hybrid, and see how it does. Early on when I was building standard, I don't have the list up anymore because it's just kind of old. Just got rid of that. Just want to give you new content, which I'm now just going to keep up now. Because there's something to be said to go back and watch old content at some point. But my builds were kind of like this, not exactly. I didn't have card in until later on. Tsunomasa, I was limiting him to only 2 copies. So I was really stifling my deck. I was stifling my resources. I got to the point where at some point I only had 2 breath, went up to 3 card. I still had Kokushigarasu in there. But again, these 2 cards were just really fighting with each other. But now that I'm playing 4 Tsunomasa, I'm going to go back and see. I'm going to explore with this. I don't think I'm going to go up to 4 of him because I don't want him to flood my hand. I want him later on. I really only want to see him once. I know I'm probably going to see him twice running 3, and that's okay. 11K beater. But give it a try. There was a deck on Freedom Duo maybe 2 or 3 months ago, probably February, Japanese. They just teched in 1, okay? But that deck was interesting because, or I should say not necessarily interesting, but not as efficient because it was still running like 2 Fuki, 1 Dam Breach, Chigasuma I think was being ran at 1. It really obviously was a deck where the player was still exploring a lot of the space that we have in terms of gaming and deck design. So, yeah. So triggers, what I've liked is running, of course, 4 heal, 5 crit, and 7 draw. Now, the trend has been on the List and Freedom Duo 8 draw. And I was playing 8 draw yesterday, and I really, really liked it. I think it's great. Were there points in the game where if I'd had that extra crit, I could have won? Yeah, there was. There was at least one of the, I think we played maybe 5 games. I only won 1. Some of them were really close. Did I win one? Did I win one of those? I think I won one, yeah. So we played super fast. We played a bunch of games, and which was pretty cool. But yeah, winning one, yeah, I did win one. But there were other games where if I had gotten an extra crit, it may have helped. So, I mean, it's kind of wishful thinking. Oh, I'm just gonna add one more crit because that's gonna, make me win those games. Not necessarily, but it does up my chance. I've been playing with seven draw now for a while. Played it in Chicago. It's almost 2 months ago, I guess now. And been pretty much ever since been playing with this, and it's worked out pretty well for me. So, but I definitely had to give the 8 draw a try just to see how that would fare. So this is kind of where I'm at right now in terms of theory crafting. Definitely like this build where I'm running, Kokushigarasu. It works pretty well for me, actually. It works pretty well, and why? So why should I add this back? More pressure, possibly a better win rate. I've gotten pretty used to, using these with him, with, how I played before. That deck list I have up there, my deck profile, my standard premium deck profile, where I kind of show the similarities. That deck list has been pretty good to me, but that deck list doesn't have Voidmaster in it, who I've been very much missing. And I'm really happy to have him back in. The other card you'll see who is not here, much to my dismay, is Hagakure. So Hagakure is a card that the Japanese meta was experimenting with, as I was experimenting with, as I've been playing with. This card has been in my deck, I'd say almost since standard Nubatama dropped, just because it's so versatile. However, the one question I have is, is it just a win more card? It can throw your opponent off. It can get really big. Voidmaster comes out off a storm. It's now 20, you copy 20. Is that any better than just having another Voidmaster on the other side that you play for 20? Or just using a cart to pump up a Kujikira Congo that you put on the other column. Of course, with that said, if you use this to make these guys bigger, you can then, copy that force. So, but the way it is right now, so pretty much what I've done from the deck I was playing is I've taken out Hagakure, and I've taken out our Restrictor, and I've taken out Dam Breach. So these are cards that I took out to come to this. I did take out a copy of him. We'll see how that fares. I did take out a cart, because I was running 3 cart. And I did take out a Kujikira Congo. So I'm pretty sure that's all. Yeah. So these cards, I just went down in numbers, right? I just went down in numbers to make room. Really, became comfortable with this, so I took that out. Again, a win more card, maybe. And then win more, maybe. So I hope you're all having a good weekend. I hope that you're getting into some good plays. Yeah, experiment around with these decks that we've been talking about. Let us know what you guys think. You know, let us know the changes you make. I look forward to seeing that and talking to you more. Take care. Peace.